Friday, a few of my friends and I managed to synchronize some time off work for a long weekend trip to a nerd culture convention. It only took about 2 hours to get there as the event was taking place in a nearby city. Along the way we hooked up Charlie's phone to the car speakers and took turns queuing songs. There's a playlist now of all the songs we sang the loudest to, but I'm not sure I can recommend it because the genres are all over the place. I only listen to it these days for the nostalgia factor. Only one stop was made because Alice forgot to fill up on gas before we left. Also, Charlie had to pee. He came back saying the restroom was a mess, all ransacked and stained with excrement. Normally this wouldn't upset him, but Charlie is an aspiring amateur architect, and said that the bathroom resembled much of the Roaring Twenties excessive Art Deco style. Not that it's necessarily his favorite look by any stretch of the imagination. By the time the pump had emptied itself into the car, I needed to relieve myself as well. Indeed, the space seemed to be from a bygone era, but retrofitted with strikingly contemporary fixtures, such as plastic stalls, one of which had a glory hole cut into it. I peeped through the cutout and saw a bagged up, out-of-order toilet. Sitting upon it was an elderly man, with his pants up, fast asleep. From his clothes I guessed he worked at the gas station and was on break. The rest of the ride was smooth enough, though we quite frequently became sidetracked, so much so that we misheard the phone's directions once or twice. We were all over the place, busy with picking music, pointing at things out the window, showing each other random posts on our phones, and catching up by telling work stories. There was this game we played where we'd take turns making a frame out of our fingers, like how you see photographers do. The others would use their phones to take pictures through the finger frame, and whoever made the best or funniest picture would win the round, as judged by the one who put up their fingers. Some of the funniest were when we take the picture not through the direction that the frame person was looking, but instead back through their fingers at their face. Serge called them headshots. But one of the times Serge was taking a headshot, this idiot drifted into our lane and Alice slammed on the brakes to avoid a collision. Serge's phone hit me right on the nose and I started bleeding everywhere. We didn't have any paper towels or anything, so I just used my shirt, which got cake red. There's still stains on the seat from that, but I don't think Alice really minds much.
Wow.
While Alice checked us into the hotel, Charlie, Serge, and I stumbled into an auditorium of sorts, probably where they host events for self-help gurus and business parties. It was packed with older gentlemen, all sat in silence staring ahead at this man giving a speech about money or life. Well, we walked in at the exact right moment to witness this guy pulled out bowling pins, a small weight, and a unicycle. He explained that by using this mental technique that he had developed over time, he could juggle the pins, balance the weight on his forehead, and ride the unicycle at the same time, all while reciting the first 500 digits of the number pi. After about 10 numbers in his left leg cramped and he fell over, dropping everything across the stage. The crowd was shocked out of their minds, but we could not stop laughing. Immediately we ducked out of there and back to the front desk, where Alice had just about finished up. Serge and I voiced that we were ready for dinner after we set our stuff down in the room, but Charlie and Alice weren't hungry. They told us to go on ahead and eat. So, we left and found this burger place that was actually pretty good. When we came back, Charlie and Alice were acting really strange, and both of them looked disheveled. Clearly, they just got done having sex. And Serge was pissed because he had a crush on Alice, but she never reciprocated. This ended up being a major point of underlying contention throughout the rest of the weekend. What ended up being worse for the friend group even later down the line by a couple weeks is that we found out that they filmed themselves doing it. And it accidentally made its way to Serge, and personally, I didn't want to see it, but I wasn't bothered. No doubt it was inappropriate, of course, but I didn't care. Serge, on the other hand, now refuses to speak to either of them. That night was a tense sleep to say the least. I even had a nightmare, but I can't much remember it. It's just that the air was thick. Charlie and I took one bed, and Alice the other. Serge said he wanted to sleep on the floor, and so he did.
If an actor could do what this guy can do, he's going to do it in the movie. And similarly, if Anna Karina can smoke a cigarette like no other person in the world can smoke a cigarette, she's going to smoke a lot of cigarettes in this movie. If she can dance, she's going to dance. And the next part of the scene is going to be devoted precisely to the spectacle of Nana and Karina dancing. This moment in the film is often mocked. It's said, well, Nana falls in love with the young man because he gives her a pack of his guitar. And it's true that if this was a normal film, a normal narrative film, that wouldn't be very much basis on which to establish a relationship. But God doesn't care about that kind of conventional psychology. As he said, the film is both realistic and very unrealistic at the same time. Its surfaces are very realistic, but the fact that everything is so elliptical, that there are so many gaps in the story, and that everything is, as he said, lines. It's like a sketch. Each tableau is a sketch, and the film is a sketch. And so, within each tableau, there are many, many unrealistic details. Okay, the dance begins. Many people have tried to find out what is this piece of music. Well, I would say it's a piece of music that Michel Legrand wrote in about 30 seconds. It's a completely generic piece of pop rock boogie. And in fact, Godard would always get his composers to do these generic pieces of music that would come out of jukeboxes or be on a record player or whatever, on a radio. And it's always generic music, a bit of generic jazz we heard in the record shop scene.
Ah, shoot, man. Ah, that kind of hurt.
Okay.
I'm watching you.
And I am watching you.
We can watch each other forever until I get bored.
I agree.
I am trying to think. I'm trying really hard. But it's difficult to do so at the moment.
That's fine. Why is it difficult?
I don't know. Just a lot of different inputs have clouded my head. It's just difficult to parse information now. Even timelines are circular or staccato,
Your timeline?
like my day-to-day. Probably it's because of my phone or I don't know.
How do you plan on recovering?
I'm not sure I can. I mean, it's doubtful. It's come too far and for too long. Yeah, my little neurons can't recover from the damage.
From indulgence?
Yeah, but it's not entirely my fault.
There's a higher power drawing your attention to your phone?
Sort of. Definitely. I'm sure it's lurking around my skull and in between office chairs in Silicon Valley. Or New York. Could even be a little bit inside the hand of fate.
Could be me.
Could be.
And how would you describe yourself?
Me? Well, I'm ordinary. I've done lots of ordinary things. I eat, sleep, go to work, watch some stuff. I don't believe in the future.
Why's that?
There doesn't seem to be one, and I'm just trying to survive in the present. Honestly, I can't even properly picture a future in my head. By tomorrow morning there'll surely be something changing everything. But it'll still be the same.
How about your friends?
They're probably thinking the same as me. Or they just forgot about all this and go to work as usual.
Your parents?
I don't know what they're doing. They're basically on another planet at this point.
They're not on my planet.
No human is. Can I ask you some questions now?
Maybe.
I know you're an alien or a ghost or something, but where are you from?
Well, all I'm doing is asking a few questions.
Right.
Do you think you are going at the right pace in life?
Pace? I don't know whether to speed up or slow down. Now it's pretty slow, I think. Everything seems fast in comparison. In comparison to me. I'm trying to live now. I'm just chilling.
What does that mean?
Just hanging out. Working and hanging. I live in America, you know.
Would you live in a cave?
I don't know whether to say no or I wish.
Do you wish often?
Yeah, maybe for luck. Like the lottery or... That's it.
Just the lottery?
It'd be nice. No worries with the lottery money, except I've heard that family and friends start asking for stuff. If all that happened, I'd just disown everybody. I'll meet new people. New friends.
Where would you meet them?
Around.
Do you think that's the best timeline that you could find yourself in?
It's the best I can come up with.
Would you buy something in particular?
I'd be careful with it, save it for my kids. I mean, I'd live in a nice house, I'd fill it with nice things, but save most of it.
So, you would have children.
Later if I meet the right person.
What would that person be like?
I don't know what they'd be like, but I know for certain what they would not be like, so, I can't describe them besides what they are not.
Such as?
They can't resemble my parents or anybody else I've ever met. Not any of my friends or family. I'd know that they'd have to like the same sorts of things that I do.
Like what?
peanut butter jelly time. The song. It's peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time. Where he at, where he at, where he at, where he at. But I've seen this person in my dreams. Not their body. I didn't see that. It was their aura. It came and started whispering, but it didn't sound like words. It was more like music. Their voice or sound was changing how I looked at everything around me, sort of like time became this one blob. There was no past or present, it was all just together at once. Hard to explain. But it could have just been that way because I had watched a time travel movie right before I fell asleep. Still beautiful either way.
Everything makes noise. Every object buzzes and every hunk of organic matter gurgles and creaks. The countryside even has a hum, some rumble rising up and up through the dirt and carried on the back of the wind. From the cities into wires into pipes into waves all the way to the front doorstep porch of a country bumpkin such as myself. With such an atmosphere, how can any normal be surprised when an amateur theorist gets on about 5G cooking the babies? Or nanobots in vaccines? Or gay frogs? It sure feels like I'm being swarmed by tiny electro creatures every time I stop to take a moment of silence. Though, it's more than possible for that buzz to be coming from inside my skull. Withdrawals from the content sphere flickering up and blocking all 5 of my senses so as to make sure my brain lights up proper the second my screen does the same. Maybe this is why my ears ring out every time I lay my head on the pillow and shut my eyes. So, let's sit in silence. Exploring is not something I do. Most paths have been set up for me by designers, algorithms, or planning. When I lived in the city, I did not explore it because I did not have the time to. I had a schedule and all of my freedom was sucked up by apps or movies. And now in the countryside, most all land is privately owned, guarded by yellow signs that say, trespassers will be prosecuted. So, I don't even bother with the romanticized visions of wandering hills and sitting under apple trees, waiting for the fruit to strike me on the head. One does not explore Twitter or YouTube. The experiences within them are, as you already know, tailored for you based on your clicks, taps, follows, and attention. The bedroom has become a cage with a steady stream of robotically curated information, keeping my mind occupied just enough so that I don't step outside. It can't be just me, right?
All of us got up around the same time Saturday, and fairly early as well. This was because we hoped to avoid a long line into the convention center, but it turned out that there were nerds even more dedicated than ourselves. The wait to get inside was like an hour and a half. Charlie and I were cosplaying from this show we were in love with, looking absolutely ridiculous but having fun with it. We were determined to go meet the actors at their panel that day and thought costumes would be enough suck-up material to allow the chance. We spent the first part of the day wandering around and taking in the magnificent sights. Beautiful costumes and fan art. All sorts of merchandise that was making my wallet itch, from little figurines and posters to big stuff like full-scale replicas and special edition box sets. Lots of booth babes, as per usual at these conventions where the companies come promote their own IPs. Some booths had original music playing, and we stopped at a couple to play demos of some upcoming titles. Serge came with money saved up and bought all sorts of stuff. T-shirts, art books, box sets, only things that were available only for a short time or convention-exclusive items. At lunch we hit the makeshift food court and got some hot dogs. I'm very well known for my love of fast food and can recall exactly what everyone ordered. Charlie got a plain old dog with ketchup and mustard, nothing else. Alice ate one with a pretzel bun and this sweet sauce, similar to syrup. Serge, who always eats a lot, got 2 loaded dogs, with nacho cheese, bacon bits, beans, and sliced onions. Him and I shared an order of fries as well. I was intrigued by an item they called the Asian fusion hot dog, which had on it thinly sliced carrots, cucumbers, pork, and seaweed on top. I assumed this was more of a novelty to extract money from the anime lovers, but it actually tasted alright. Right after we finished eating, Charlie and I rushed over to the relatively small hall that our show's cast was set to do their panel in. Though the show is not the biggest hit with mainstream audiences, the cult-like following of its fans is extremely dedicated, so even though we were 15 minutes early, the room was already packed. We were forced to stand against the wall in the back. The crowd went wild when the actors came on stage. You would have thought some sort of political rally was taking place, but it was just a bunch of teens and young adults dressed up in colorful costumes welcoming the individuals who play their idols. It was a fairly cut and dry talk, with a script reading and a Q&A, with subtle hints as to what we should expect next season. Standing in the back proved to be to our advantage as Charlie pointed out a cracked door off to the side. We snuck in and passed a guard who was busy collecting loose scraps of paper that had fallen off of a cart or something. The passageway led to the backstage area and we sat in hiding behind an exposed ventilation object that which I had no idea what it was. Charlie was dying to meet his own romantic crush, nearly peeing himself in anticipation while I was dead set on my own. We heard the audience applaud and exchanged glances of confirmation that this was our time. The cast walked in from a large stage door. Charlie and I bumbled from around the ventilation with as much charisma as we could muster. We walked up to our individual targets and began hamming it up. She was gorgeous, but notably less so than in the TV show, and seemed very frightened by my presence. She said, "Jesus, please not now. The fan meeting is tomorrow." I told her how infatuated I was with her and she started yelling for help, calling me a creep and whatnot. Charlie's picked up on this and started doing the same. Immediately 2 burly men grabbed us and threw us clean out of the convention center. The other guards wouldn't even let us back in. Suffice to say I was beyond distraught. Here I thought I'd get to have a nice conversation with her, but she thought I was some sort of stalker ready to slash her face. With our heads low, Charlie and I walked back out to the hotel and found a movie on the cable, but I couldn't pay attention to it as it had commercials every 5 seconds. I took a shower instead and, truthfully, let out some tears while the water fell on me. Looking back now I understand why her reaction was the way that it was, though I do think she overreacted. But at the time I was devastated and deleted a folder of images of her that I kept on my phone. Now I'm even jealous of her, in that she has the ability to whisk away anybody she deems undesirable and she gets to play an amazing role as her job. I wonder what it'd be like to swap places with her for a day. Serge and Alice came back early to hear the whole story and we then ate dinner at that burger place. Since the day was so eventful, we were all tired and fell asleep nearly immediately after getting back from the restaurant.
Do you dream often?
Sometimes.
Do you daydream?
Yeah, everybody does. I've seen strange people walking around looking at me funny, like when I'm dressed normal and getting food or whatever.
Who are these people?
I have no idea, maybe they're normal. The thing about my phone is that I don't have to see people's gut reactions. I like that. It's a good buffer between us. And they can still interact with me if they like, but it's more premeditated.
One may argue that those gut reactions are healthy in a society.
Maybe. But I'm not very healthy.
In what sense are you unhealthy?
I don't move around a lot. I eat healthy and go on walks with my dog, but that's about it. I try to get out as much as I can because it feels good to be outside, but things get in the way and I get lazy.
Do you pick up your dog's poops?
Of course,
Why?
that kind of thing is important. We should all stay relatively clean.
What activity takes up most of your time?
Work. Definitely work.
Do you like it?
It's fine. It's pretty normal. I don't really know how to explain it, to be honest.
You can't explain it?
It's very specific. Like technical. And we have meetings. A lot of people hate their work, but I'm okay with mine. I've gotten used to it. Not that it was impossibly difficult to begin with.
Are your coworkers your friends?
One is. The others are friends in the loosest sense of the word.
Have you ever met them outside of work, say for dinner?
No, not yet. Not even the person I talk to the most.
Why not?
I don't know. It just never happened. Maybe everybody has their own friends or are all busy with life. I wouldn't mind hanging out with them. I mean, I've got nothing going on. And there's this big pipe at the office. You can see it because the ceiling tiles are gone since the technician is installing new lights. They discovered this pipe is leaking once they moved the tiles and little drops of water began dripping all over this one desk and computer. It caused some problems, but they just moved desks around. That's the biggest thing to happen at work in a while. Somehow discussion over the ceiling pipe has been stretched out over a month. Just goes to show you how little we talk about life beyond the workplace.
How do you get to work?
Usually the bus or the subway, whichever isn't running late in the morning. Sometimes if I wake up early I'll ride my bike there, but that's rare.
How do you know one of them is running late?
I have a transit app that tells me.
Who is your best friend?
Probably my dog, Eric.
Sometimes there's just a sad animal, and they sit and sleep and gain weight. There are pets who are depressed and nervous. Their gray hairs come in early and they stare at us with eyes asking for acceptance. Are they insecure or just worried? What happens when they're by themselves? Do they whimper? How do their families treat them? And what do they eat? I'll get slow with you. Old, slow, and fatty. With our veins clogged and our bodies couch-ridden. But our heads, well, they'll zoom ahead at an exponentially increasing pace. At least I'd like to think as much. It is true that they too could slow to a crawl, fogged up with digital residue and muscle memories. We'll be not jumping from one topic to the next, but feeling our ways around the clouded saunas that our skulls have become. At least I'll know that you are sitting next to me, and you will know that I am sitting next to you, no matter how far apart we've traveled from each other.
Is the internet a big part of your life?
No, I wouldn't say so. Just my phone.
Is that good?
Maybe. There's a lot of information online. I could have learned what I studied at school on a computer, but I didn't know that at the time.
What did you learn?
Computer stuff. Numbers. A lot of forgotten information from required classes.
Maybe you forgot because you were never interested in the first place.
That's definitely the case. I didn't care at all.
Do you think you have learned a lot over the course of your life?
Do you mean from school?
Life in general?
Yeah. I've learned a lot. I knew nothing when I was a kid. Not as much as other people, of course, but I've learned enough.
Are you still learning?
I'd like to think so. I hope I am. One of my wishes is that I cared more about learning, but I'm content doing other things. Reading is difficult, probably because my attention span is broken. I watch videos with information from time to time, like random facts.
Videos?
Yeah. Cooking videos too. I follow a recipe once a week, Fridays, just so I'm not eating pre-made food every day. Usually I'm too tired to follow a recipe, but I force it on Fridays, so now it is routine.
How many routines do you have?
Probably more than I think. Like groceries on Saturday. It'd be a long list. Or if it's short, then it proves that I'm boring.
Are you?
I feel that I am.
Many humans say that to me. Why do you think you are boring?
A lack of hobbies. Few friends. I don't have much going on.
Will you do more after this?
I will try to, but I'm not all that hopeful that I'll get anything started. I have routines, sure, but they are difficult for me to start up. I don't even know what time it will be when I get back.
It could be whatever time you like.
If you say so.
Do you prefer it to be a certain time when you get back?
Not really, as long as I'm not late for work or something like that.
What time of day do you usually prefer?
Usually I prefer daytime. When the sun is out on weekends, I believe I am happier, as if it is beaming some energy into my body from all the way up there. Not that I believe in energy and that mystical stuff. I have friends who do Ouija boards, and they read the stars, and they always call me a Cancer. I let them be, they aren't harming anybody. We're all different. But anyway, I suppose sun energy is literally just warmth.
You are here talking to me though. Unexplained occurrences exist.
Well, I don't know what to think of all this.
Do you believe in a higher power?
No, I don't think I do. Maybe I do. It's not something I ever think about. Could be.
What is the last thing that you really enjoyed?
Probably this ramen cup I tried a couple days ago. I had never had that brand, but I thought it was great.
What about it did you enjoy?
The flavor was good. Spicy chicken, I believe. I usually don't like spicy, but this was mildly hot.
Be more specific about what you liked.
Well, you don't cook this cup in the microwave, you boil water beforehand. That was new to me, though I'll still probably throw it into the microwave.
That's not what you liked about it.
I mean, it tasted good. I liked the chicken flavor. What more is there to say?
What did you like about the flavor?
I don't know. I can't describe it like that. It was tasty.
Try. What made it tasty to you?
I don't remember the ingredients. The chicken.
Use an adjective.
Hot. I don't know. Spicy.
That's not enough. Get closer to the core.
What does that mean?
It means be descriptive. Penetrate the essence of your pleasure with the food.
It had a good taste. There's nothing else. That's the essence.
There is more there.
Not for me. Maybe a chef would have more input. That's it.
Do you live unconsciously?
I walk here, I go there, I eat ramen. So what? My phone buzzes, so I look at it, then I scroll through my feed. Is that unconscious? I pick what I do, but I get sucked into things. If taking your next step is unconscious, then so is my daily life. Do you live unconsciously?
It is not possible for me to do so.
Why?
Why do you all of a sudden ask me questions?
I am tired of yours.
Then this is over.
Charlie and I didn't dress up Sunday in hopes that the guards wouldn't recognize us. This actually worked, and we were free to roam around the center once again. Serge had a number of anime panels he was looking forward to, and Alice was set to get as many pictures with cosplayers as she could. Charlie and I had no plan since we used the days leading up to the convention to work on our costumes and worry about meeting our idols. We all split up, even Charlie and I, as he got involved playing this demo for longer than I could wait around for. It was actually quite lonely walking around by myself, as there were still things that I wanted to comment on or point out. Even weirder was that I felt totally alone, even though I was surrounded by thousands of people all packed together and focusing on the same things. I probably could have struck up a conversation about anything, but I was too nervous. Maybe I would have had more confidence if I had been wearing my costume. I had promised myself that I was only going to send money on food, since I had already spent so much on the ticket and my share for the hotel room and gas. When I walked by the booth for one of my favorite games, though, there was this small enamel pen they had for the character I main. The picture was cute, and the quality was good, so I reluctantly took out my wallet. Even though it didn't cost too much, I still feel bad about it since I made myself a promise, but the darn thing was too enticing. And at least now I have it on my backpack, so I get to wear it out and my backpack looks better for it. I don't think I have a good sense of style, so it's good to up my luck while showing off what I like. It's good I didn't buy a shirt, which was overpriced anyway, even though I did spot one that looked great. After some more wandering around the artist corner, I found a large area map that had a schedule on it for panels and Q&As. A couple seemed interesting, and I naturally did not want any part of the meet and greet later, though Charlie was still going to attend. I decided to go completely off the beaten path and go to panels that I would have usually never had any interest in. The first one that I caught the tail end of was this interactive workshop in which all the attendees were given toy swords that we customized with hot glue and random craft items and bits of junk metal. I'm not usually creative. The costume I made was the first art project I've ever put together, but I tried to go for a cyberpunk look to my sword since that's an aesthetic that I've always loved since I was in high school. It turned out alright, and the rest of the gang thought it was cool when they saw it later. After that I attended this panel called something like Silent Films of Japan or Early Japanese Cinema. Either way, this was way out of my canon. The only movies I ever watch are the superhero ones when they come to the theater, and sometimes the occasional classic on Netflix, like Back to the Future or Star Wars. There weren't many people in the crowd, most of whom seemed to be total weebs. The guy on stage showed some crazy stuff like I'd never seen before. Old black and white movies of people with big costumes doing what looked like stage plays. It was strange watching something so old for the first time, but I must say I wasn't bored, mostly because of the great commentary provided by the speaker. He was going all over the history, which I don't remember much of, but the one point that did stick out is that so many of those old movies are lost forever. I looked it up later and it said that the Library of Congress estimates that 75% of all silent films are gone forever. These films were either thrown out, recycled, destroyed, or they spontaneously combusted because they were somehow made with chemicals. I kind of felt bad about it afterwards. It made me wonder how much of what we watch now is going to be gone in 100 years, like some of my favorite YouTube videos for instance. I don't know of any institutions collecting and archiving YouTube videos. I mean, I'm sure there are, but it wouldn't surprise me if there aren't. Maybe professors and historians don't see Let's Plays as important as those old movies, but a lot of people watch them every day, so there is some value in them. I caught up with my friends at lunch and we decided to stick together for the rest of the day. We debated leaving to check out the city since we were beginning to get sick of all the media, but ended up staying because too many things kept drawing us in. I'm still looking forward to the release of one of the titles I saw there, which looked absolutely nuts. Near the end of the day though I started to feel sick, either from the hot dog I ate or from the overstimulation and constant walking. I vomited up my lunch into a public toilet. This bathroom looked quite clean actually despite the volume of people at the convention, but the smell was horrendous, bordering on the absurd. No doubt this aided my body to expel more food. I expected to see the gang outside the bathroom when I came out, but they weren't there. I looked around and found them in a large crowd gathered around this massive screen premiering the new trailer for an upcoming movie. When it ended everybody clapped and Alice was jumping up and down in excitement. That movie still hasn't come out yet, but we're planning on going together as a group on opening night, that is if Serge wants to be there at the same time as Alice. Hopefully the friendship is mended by then because the trailer made it look like a fun time. It better be, considering I heard that the runtime is like 3 hours long. Some sort of fight broke out in the crowd between two fans of the movie series over I don't know what. We used that as a signal to head out for dinner. Serge and I were tired of burgers, and we all agreed to go for something cheap, so we walked over to a Taco Bell. It must have gone right through Serge as he immediately bolted into the bathroom upon his completion of the meal. He told us after that he had diarrhea. I know people who refuse to eat at Mexican-style fast food places because they make them ill, but I've never had a problem with them and always end up liking the food. All four of us had work the next morning, so we decided to head back home that night. The drive was quiet and ominous. Serge purposely sat in the back with me so as to avoid excess eye contact with either of the other two. There was a little conversation in the beginning, but most of the 2 hours were spent in total silence, as Alice doesn't like driving with music at night, only during the daytime. Sometime late into the night, it all of a sudden began to snow. I should add that it was wintertime when the convention took place. I saw this as a strange culmination of all the events of the weekend, finally bursting out into a white blanket. And so, I've always called this event the White Weekend.
I am now not allowed to fly with American Airlines after clogging the toilet mid-flight, causing the plane to stink very badly, causing multiple complaints.